Summary: the video investigates the tragic Air India crash caused by Captain Sabharwal, who deliberately shut off the aircraft's fuel valves shortly after takeoff, leading to the deaths of all 260 passengers and crew. Once regarded as a model pilot, Sabharwal's shocking actions unveiled deep systemic flaws within Air India and the broader Indian aviation industry, particularly concerning pilot mental health management and corporate negligence. Despite medical records indicating severe psychological issues, including depression and paranoid disorder, Sabharwal was cleared to fly amid severe staffing shortages and economic pressures. The airline allegedly manipulated medical documents to conceal his condition and ignored multiple warning signs, prioritizing operational demands over safety. The captain's calm demeanor during the crash and testimonies about his pre-accident behavior suggest a premeditated act of mass murder masked as suicide. The video also contextualizes this tragedy within a history of pilot suicides in aviation, highlighting the persistent challenge of detecting and preventing such incidents. The video concludes by emphasizing the unique difficulty in monitoring human intention and stress, the urgent need for improved mental health screening, continuous psychological support, and cockpit safety protocols such as the two-person rule to prevent similar disasters in the future. Highlights: Captain Sabharwal deliberately shut off fuel valves, causing the Air India crash, killing 260 people. Sabharwal suffered from severe depression and paranoid disorder, but airline ignored psychological warning signs, but a deliberate act by Captain Sabharwal, who shut off the fuel valves manually. This highlights how individual actions, when combined with systemic oversight failures, can lead to catastrophic events. The airline's negligence in evaluating and addressing pilot mental health risks critically contributed to this tragedy. Air India manipulated medical records to clear Sabharwal to fly despite known mental health risks. This reflects a wider issue in the aviation industry where mental health is stigmatized, and pilots often fly under extreme stress without adequate support or intervention mechanisms. Families of victims expressed profound betrayal and grief, while social media and parliamentary discussions pressured the government for criminal investigations and reforms. This public response underscores the critical role of transparency and accountability in aviation safety culture. Pilots were overworked, flying excessive hours without sufficient rest, and minor faults were ignored to maintain schedules. Effective prevention depends on early mental health detection, continuous psychological support, cultural change to reduce stigma, and safety measures like two-person cockpit rules. This not only endangered passengers but also undermines the integrity of aviation medical certification system. The disappearance and subsequent leak of medical documents further fuel suspicions of deliberate The Germanwings incident, in particular, led to significant regulatory changes, such as the mandatory presence of a second person in the cockpit. Families' pain is compounded by the knowledge that the tragedy was preventable and caused by a trusted professional's deliberate act. Calls for criminal accountability and systemic reform highlight the urgent need for transparency and improved governance in aviation. Yet, Air India's delayed implementation of similar policies reflects a resistance to learning from past tragedies, but hinges crucially on the mental and emotional well-being of flight crew. Supported by ethical organizational culture and rigorous regulatory oversight, without addressing the human factor with the same rigor as technical factors, the industry risks future disasters of similar nature. It exposes systemic failures at organizational, medical, and regulatory levels, where economic pressures overshadowed safety concerns. The incident demands urgent reforms in pilot psychological screening, continuous support, transparent medical certification processes, and cockpit safety protocols. Learning from global precedents and public outrage, the aviation industry must prioritize human factors to safeguard lives and restore public trust. Only then can such a tragedy be prevented from recurring. Without addressing these systemic issues, the risk of similar tragedies remains high. Testimonies from colleagues and neighbors reinforce the idea that Sabharwal had premeditated the act, possibly as a form of revenge against the airline for their neglect and mistreatment. The deliberate alteration and disappearance of Sabharwal's medical records suggest institutional attempts to cover up the risks associated with his psychological state. The video places Sabharwal's case within a global pattern of pilot suicides, referencing incidents such as Japan Airlines, Silk Air, Egypt Air. Captain Sabharwal's personal grief and mental health deterioration were exacerbated by an unforgiving operational environment. His repeated requests for leave and complaints about excessive flying hours were mishandled internally rather than escalated to proper safety boards. The airline's prioritization of market competitiveness and financial recovery seemingly took precedence over rigorous pilot health management. These cases emphasize the persistent difficulty in detecting suicidal intent and the necessity for robust cockpit safety protocols, including mandatory two-person cockpit policies and continuous mental health monitoring. This raises severe ethical and legal concerns about accountability within the airline and medical boards, highlighting the need for transparent, independent oversight in pilot medical certification processes. This environment created a ticking time bomb where mentally unfit pilots were cleared to fly, increasing the risk of similar tragedies. The airline's failure to provide independent psychological evaluation or therapy after multiple leave requests underscores systemic neglect. Pilot shortages and intense flight schedules pressured airlines to overlook pilot well-being post-pandemic. The tragedy exposed systemic failures in mental health screening and safety oversight in Indian aviation. Cockpit voice recordings revealed Sabharwal's abnormal calmness, indicating historical context shows pilot suicides are a recurring, unresolved aviation safety challenge worldwide. Key insights. Asterisk. Deliberate pilot action versus systemic failure. The crash was not an accident. Mental health in aviation is underestimated and undersupported. Sabharwal's psychological insomnia and paranoia were documented but dismissed or concealed by Air India. Operational pressures override safety concerns. The video reveals how post-pandemic pilot shortages and economic pressures led Air India to prioritize operational continuity over safety. Manipulation and concealment of critical medical information. Pilot suicides are a recurring aviation safety challenge. Public outrage and demand for accountability. The revelation of Sabharwal's deliberate act shattered public trust in Air India and Indian aviation authorities. Preventing future tragedies requires systemic reform. The video concludes by stressing that human intention remains undetectable by technology and radar. Extended analysis as tragedy showcases a multifaceted failure within Air India and the broader aviation ecosystem. The manipulation of medical records by trusted aviation doctors with personal ties to airline management reveals an unethical practice aimed at circumventing safety regulations. Psychological experts' analysis of Sabharwal's calm demeanor during the crash suggests a chilling awareness and intent, transforming what might have been a momentary lapse into a calculated massacre. The video as historical overview of pilot suicides worldwide, the issue as a long-standing aviation safety concern requiring global attention. The public's reaction ranging from shock to outrage, the deep emotional and ethical impact such incidents have on society. In essence, this video underlines that aviation safety is not merely about mechanical reliability or pilot skill. Conclusion. The Air India crash caused by Captain Sumit Sabharwal's intentional actions is a grim reminder of the critical importance of mental health management in aviation.